Will Orthodox Christianity develop in other countries, especially in America? Who will contribute to this? All of us already contributing. It's already developing. More and more Orthodox Christians are moving, particularly to regions such as America and Europe. I observe this from people I meet, and I've noticed a large percentage of people are now heading to Latin America, especially to the southern parts, places like Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, as well as Australia. It's as if God is directing this flow. And it's just not from Russia, by the way, but you remember the Middle East, which you mentioned earlier, where there's always war. You recall ISIS, right? When they were wiping out Christians. And not just Christians, Muslims suffered too. The killers would say that they were incorrect Muslims and would slaughter them as well. Yazidis and other groups also suffered. As a result, a large number of Arabic-speaking and Syriac-speaking Christians immigrated to Latin America and Australia. And of course, Europe and North America has always been destinations too. Something very interesting is happening in North America, in the United States and Canada. You may have heard of a man of great spiritual life recently deceased, Elder Ephraim of Arizona. This monk came from Mount Athos as an old man and was horrified by Orthodox Christians lived in North America. He never fully returned to Athos. He visited but didn't stay. Instead, as an old man, he opened over 20 monasteries in completely remote areas, in the deserts of Nevada, in the Cordillera Mountains, in other desolate places. He established monastic communities, both male and female, that were international. It didn't matter what nationality you were, as long as you were Orthodox. Around these monasteries, communities of lay people began to form, married people who contributed to the life of the monastery. They had children, so they needed teachers, doctors, electricians, carpenters. Everyone was needed. And this network of over 20 monasteries, with monks at the center and lay people of various nationalities around them, became a unique phenomenon. There's an intense spiritual life in these places. I've been fortunate to communicate with those who visited them. I was planning to go myself, but the border was closed. Others who've been there described it is an extraordinary experience, an experience of the Jesus prayer, of fasting, of love, and of living in areas completely unsuitable for habitation. I spoke with a hierom monk who was taken to one of these monasteries, where they showed him the barren land. Elder Ephraim, though sick at the time, was shown this desolate place and remarked, "And what of this place? It was just dead, lifeless desert." But the elder said, "This will be a Russian monastery, remember that." And this process is ongoing. Orthodoxy is gaining momentum in North America. What's important, it's not the weak who are leaving. The weak stay behind, complaining, waiting for the government to love them, waiting for pensions to increase, for money to be handed to them. But those who leave are the ones capable of action, those who are willing to risk. It's not easy, but many active, capable, and passionate individuals, Orthodox Christians among them, are moving abroad. And not just from Russia, from Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia too. Bulgaria, for example, lost a third of its population since joining the European Union. They didn't die, they just left. But they haven't disappeared. Many Orthodox Christians are consolidating. In various communities like São Paulo, Brazil, a wealthy and large city, you meet people of all nationalities. Russians, Serbs, Bulgarians, Georgians, Orthodox Arabs, and others. And they all stand as one family before the altar of God. They don't impose their national customs on each other. There's no place for that. Instead, they emphasize what unites Orthodox Christians of different nationalities. What unites us in Christ? What unites us is everything related to salvation. How you color eggs for Easter doesn't matter. Everyone does it differently. What matters is not what you eat on Easter, whether it's eggs or lamb. But the essence is the feast. These are things not even worth discussing. Let me give an example. A Russian woman who moved to Spain, her daughter moved there first. Then she followed. I asked her, "Have you forgotten the church there? Do you still rejoice in your faith?" She replied, "How could I forget? I go to church regularly." She said their priest is a Spanish Orthodox monk who doesn't speak Russian. Their congregation is made up of Serbs, Greeks, and Bulgarians, none of whom understand each other's language. I asked her, "How do you manage?" She replied, "I go to confession and tell him, 'Father, I love you, but you're like a log with eyes. You don't understand a word I say.' He just smiles and says, 'Yes, yes, see, see.'" I asked her, "How do you confess then?" She said, "He opened his notebook, showed me where it says in Russian, 'You're at the confession. It's not the priest who hears the confession, but Christ. Speak to Christ. I am praying for you.'" After reading that, I began to tremble. I have never confessed like that before. That log with eyes turned out to be a treasure. I learned how to truly confess for the first time. On another occasion, I asked her if the priest gives sermons. She said, "Yes, but they're short, always the same. He reads from his notebook, alternating between Spanish, Greek, French, and Russian." And what does he say? A single phrase from the first epistle of John the Theologian: "Little children, love one another." That's all he ever says. And yet, we all stand there in the church, crying our eyes out. This is an amazing phenomenon. They don't repeat silly nationalistic customs. They focus on being true Orthodox Christians. So regarding the future of Orthodox Christianity worldwide, especially in Latin America, Australia, and other countries, I personally look to the future with joy and hope. Not everywhere is like Russia. Things happen in parallel elsewhere, and thank God for that.